Former New York Mets general manager tells us how he would handle the Pete Alonso situation. Plus, David Wright's number is going to be retired. A former teammate gives us his perspective on the third baseman next on MetCast. What's going on, Met fans? As always, I am Ray, and forgive me for I'm a little under the weather, but I still want to bring you guys the latest and greatest when it comes to our beloved New York Mets. And if it's your first time to the channel, please like and subscribe. Welcome as we create this great Mets community here on YouTube and over on X and Facebook. So give us a follow over there. So the saga continues on when it comes to Pete Alonso and the New York Mets. It always seems like there's something new going on, a new team potentially getting involved. We hear the Angels out west might be getting involved. The San Francisco Giants, who still have that glaring hole at first base, may also get involved. But former New York Mets general manager will get involved and tell us how he would handle the situation in regard to Pete Alonso. Let's give it a listen.
All right, Zack, how would you approach the negotiations with Pete Alonso?
I would handle them the same way that I'm perceiving that David Stearns is handling them. I mean, it's really a big game of chicken at this point, right? Which happens a lot with Scott Boras. And I think
don't play chicken too much with Scott Boras. We've all seen what could happen in the past. We've seen teams get screwed, and we've also seen players get screwed. A la Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Drew back in the day with the Red Sox. Scott Boras has showed he's more than willing to carry these things out into the regular season. Now, I doubt Pete Alonso wants that to happen, but you're playing a game of chicken with the professional player of the game of chicken.
It's key for, I think David Stearns has the slow heart rate to handle that. Whether his owner gets impatient and wants to jump the gun on things and up the offer, that'll be the thing that could make the difference. But it reminds me a lot of when I was with the Red Sox, JD Martinez. We had a long staring contest with Scott Boras before they kind of came down and took our offer because it was the best on the table. And I expect it to end the same way.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the thing right now. We all know Pete Alonso sitting around and waiting for that other second team to get involved. They thought it was going to be Washington originally. Let's not forget that. The rumor out there was that Pete Alonso was seeking a long-term contract. Washington was coming to the table. Scott Boras was trying to get Washington to expand their offer to a longer period. It just never happened, and they traded for Lowell from the Texas Rangers, essentially taking them out of the mix, as well as acquiring Josh Bell via free agency. We all know they were hoping the Yankees would get involved. The Yankees had no interest from the get. We knew that as the offseason came to a start, they go after Goldschmidt. That ends that whole thing. Then they thought, ooh, maybe if Houston decides to move on from Kyle Tucker, we'll end up shipping Pete over there. And then they go out and sign a guy like Christian Walker. And then you're thinking, well, Christian Walker left the Diamondbacks, so maybe now we'll send Pete to the Diamondbacks. But they go out and give Corbin Burns a massive contract, which essentially takes them out of the running. Seattle's clearly looking to shed salary. It doesn't look like the Giants are interested in Pete Alonso, because if they were, you would have heard rumors about it by now. That market would have gotten going. Unfortunately, there is nothing stirring out there, so Pete Alonso might have to take one of these short-term contracts.
I think he's going to end up most likely a Met, most likely at the terms that Passon was writing about there that we've discussed on the show. I mean, that seems to be where it's at. The one wild card being, if for some reason at this late date, another team decided to become more aggressive and get him closer to the offer.
We've been hearing that for months, Andy. Another team might come out and be aggressive. It's just not happening.
That he turned down with the Mets a little more than a year ago. I think he'll go to that team. Let's say the Mariners would make.
But nobody's offering 7 years for Alonso. That's the entire thing that we're going over. The Mets rumor out there, that 3 for $90, that might be all that he gets. And if I'm the Mets and I know that, I'm not giving him the opt-out after 1. I'll give you the opt-out after 2. A lot of people are like, well, Pete, you got to treat him right. He's a homegrown Met. They tried that. They gave him that 7-year contract offer, and he rejected it. So that hometown want to be regrouped, no, that's out the window now. Now you give him your deal. 3 years, $90 million, opt out after 2. If you don't want it, That's fine. We'll shift to plan B, which could be Bregman, which could be Vladdy, which could be bringing Santander, move the infield around. There's still other options out there for the Mets, but there's very few options for Pete Alonso. And right now it seems like potentially the Mets are the only option out there for him.
Make a lot of sense.
If all things were equal,
Oh, I'm saying that if someone's going to pay him a lot more than the Mets would pay him, he'd
well,
go there.
what if it's a similar? Like, do you think Alonso's
What
feelings?
I'm saying is, if he's a Met, I think it's probably at the level we're talking about, shorter term opt-outs, that kind of thing.
Like what I just said. But I wouldn't give him that opt-out after one. Unless the Mets really have an eye for Vladdy, who's obviously a free agent after this year, is most likely getting the free agency because he told the Blue Jays already. Spring training, contract talk is done. And I don't see them giving him $500 million because they're going to have to overpay to keep him there. First of all, Canada's got crazy high taxes. Second of all, they're a losing division. You have the Red Sox that are better, the Orioles that are better. You have the Yankees that are better. Tampa Bay's farm system is way better. They're going to be on the up and up within the next couple of years. Things are looking bleak in Toronto.
Probably. But if someone else steps up, then someone else steps up. There's still other places you can sort of see. I know the Mariners haven't done anything, but that's a great spot for them. The Red Sox, you know that Pete's wife is from New England. That could be a potential spot, for example. They need star power. They have a first.
I feel like Andy here is just searching for a team because let's be honest, Rafael Devers is being rumored to going to first base for them. I feel like if the Red Sox had interest, just like every other player they've had interest in gets leaked, I think they would have already known that their interest is in Pete, or we would know as fans that they'd be interested in Pete.
Baseman and Tristan Casas, but there's been all this talk about, are they going to trade him? So I could see some spots potentially opening up, but barring something like that, I just think we've been in the same space for this.
Pitchers and catchers report in like a month, barring some spaces opening up. You're asking for other teams to just have a random change of heart within the next, 40 days? I don't see it happening. Maybe you do. If you do, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'm being too blunt when it comes to Pete Alonso. Kind of got him trapped right now. Where else is he going? And I'll tell you this right now, and I said this earlier on in the postseason. If this drags out into the regular season, see you later, Pete. I am not having him start his season in July so he could have a crappy season for us and then opt out. No thanks. The Mets got to put a deadline on this.
For a couple of weeks now. Probably coming back to the Mets, probably at less money from what he.
And that's what you have from Andy Martino right there. And I agree with them. The shorter term contract, that's what they're looking at. I don't think anything more. Now, to the second part of this, we have my guy, my favorite Met of all time growing up, David Wright. They're putting his number in the rafters. I can imagine what those tickets are going to go for in July. I believe it's July 19th. Jerry Blevins is going to come on SNY, talk a little bit about him. I have not seen this yet, so we'll react live together. Let's give it a listen.
Jerry Blevins joins us right now. Jerry is a former teammate. What does this mean to you?
Well, I mean, I came up in the American League, and you always know about the National League players. It was well before the two leagues played each other.
By the way, legendary mustache.
And you know who the great players are. And David was always amongst those top. Kershaw, Albert Pujols. You always heard about him. For me to play alongside him and really get a sense of who he is as a teammate, I understood for the first time what it means to be a captain. This guy not only was the best player, one of the hardest workers on the field, he was also the embodiment of grit. He was a glue guy as well as being the best player on the field. I've never played with anybody like that before. Obviously, I never will again. They're a rare breed. And for him to stay with one team, he truly embodied what it meant to be a Met. And so I'm so grateful to this ownership to be able to honor him because he definitely deserves it. And so do the Mets fans to get out there and cheer him on again.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for that. All those highlights give me goosebumps. What made David so special on the field, Jerry?
Yeah, that's the difference, man. He not only was he a tremendous leader, obviously with the captain, but he was always the best player. He reminded me, I played with Eric Chavez, who had, a similar career. The difference was the leadership that he provided. Chavez was a great teammate, a really laid back guy, but he wasn't the one pushing each other. And on the road, getting the team together and making sure that we were gelling and trying to push forth, a winning unit. He was a great hitter, middle of the lineup his entire career, a really solid defender, a better base runner than most people give him credit for. But for me, the difference that separated him was his leadership, understanding what it meant to be a Met. He always made sure that the guys on the team understood that they were representing the organization and that held them accountable when they were stepping out of line.
Jerry Blevins.
Jerry could not have put it better. What a great way to put it. Let me know what your guys' favorite memories of David Wright are in the comments, please. I would love to reminisce with you guys. One of my favorite moments was when he came back against Philly and hit that home run after all those injuries. You felt the heart around the team. Just an all-around, you hear how great of a person he is. A quick personal story for you guys. When I was young, David Wright was without a doubt my favorite baseball player. And my stepfather used to go to a lot of games. And after a game, they were giving away a black glove, which will be on my shelves behind me. And he waited outside for players and such. And David Wright came out, wasn't really talking to a lot of people, walked through the parking lot. And my stepdad just so happened to run into him as they were walking towards the same parking lot. It was so strange. And he said, "Hey, my stepson loves you as a player." And Wright actually took the time, signed the glove, said hello, asked him how he was doing. He didn't have to do that. And I kept that glove, and I was really young. I want to say I was in middle school, something like that. It was a long time ago. And I remember he came home, he handed me the glove. I couldn't believe it. Just an all-around great guy. Let me know what your guys' personal stories are. I would love to absolutely hear them. But as this saga continues, I'll try to be there on the 19th, but as this Pete Alonso saga continues, we'll be sure to bring you the latest content. Forgive me again for I am sick, but if you guys like our content, we ask you to humbly like and subscribe to our channel. Share it with a friend. It's the best way to share our content. Share it with a friend. And we're probably going to be back for a live stream on Thursday. If you guys enjoy those, we'll always have a guest when we do them. Myself and Dan Bartels. If you're not following Dan, give Dan a follow over on X. Great guy. Really knowledgeable when it comes to his Mets history. And that's all for me. Until next time, take care.